is not abstract. It really does impact real people, real families, and real communities, especially those that we either live and work in. Ethics calls on us to act, not just to observe. So as nurses, we don't just sit on the sidelines when we see harm. And then that social justice piece, it really does ask us to look at who is being left out and who is being overlooked, and then who is disproportionately impacted. And then that science, it ensures that our message is grounded in evidence, not opinion. And so this training really is about preparing for Hill Day, but more than that, it's about stepping into your role as a nurse advocate. So if you're a novice or if you're already an expert, there's going to be something here for everyone for you to either practice or for you to then teach others, how you're doing the great work, if you're already a fierce advocate. So today we're going to give you those tools that we're going to be using, the structure, and then also that space that we need to just practice using your voice. And we're going to role play at the end as if you're meeting with a staffer, because you might not meet with your legislator, but you will meet with staffers, and they are just as important as those staffers. And oftentimes, they're the ones that interpret all of that information and then hand it off to the legislators. So making sure that they understand who you are and what nurses shift change stands for is really important. And they're often moving up, so we want to be very respectful and kind to them. So as far as the the Hill Day, I want to backtrack and just mention Nurses Shift Change, like the history, in case you are brand new and this is your first time joining. So this is not just a one and done day. It really is a movement, and it's rooted in that reality that nurses are the most trusted profession. We've heard that, right? Time and time again. But we know that our voices are often missing from those decision-making spaces. So that's where that shift is happening. We're seeing nurses organize. We're speaking out now. We're running for office, and we're leading policy conversations across the country. I hope that you've all felt that movement, especially since last year, that shift happening. And of course, Hill Day, it's right around the corner, May 7th. The countdown is on. So that's where that momentum really is becoming visible. But it's more than just that one day. It really is for the long haul. So we hope that you'll continue with us even after May 7th. We're moving from conversation to actual action. So before we move on, I do want to hear from you. Please just drop one word in the chat of what advocacy means to you right now. So I'll read what's happening in the chat. Susan, welcome. Thank you for joining. Retired pediatric mental health practice. Wonderful. Thank you for joining. Eve, thank you. Nurse practitioner. No, you're not old. Educated with, which is why I'm flying in. Perfect. Thank you for being here. Representation, Molly, yes. What does uh, advocacy mean to you? Susan, being heard. That's a good one. What does advocacy mean to you? Anybody else want to share in the chat? A voice? Yes. Advocacy to me means addressing bullying in nursing on a federal level. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'll make sure to ask you a little bit more about that later, when we're discussing, the practice. Davy, combating exploitation. I'll also ask you to expand on that. Thank you for sharing. Progress. Thank you, Sheila. Okay, so these are all very good. Keep them coming. I think advocacy is very personal, right? It is professional, it's necessary, but it is personal. So what you're seeing in the chat is exactly why this work matters. So now let's look at the legislative context. So thank you, for grounding us in what advocacy means, but we're now looking into the legislative context and the priorities that are really going to guide our conversations on Hill Day. So I want you to stay connected on your own experience, but also think about what you're seeing in your practice, in your community, with your patients, because all of that is really what makes this work powerful. We're going to give you the framing of our message, and please don't deviate from that, but you are going to be able to add in your personal story. So I just want to make sure that you're all grounded in all of the beautiful things that we're seeing in the chat. Accountability, thank you. Veronica, advocate for these important healthcare Expressing pride in nursing. Thank you. Shirla, prioritizing patient health over profit. Mary, I'm an NP, retired from pulmonary and wound care, and now teaching at the community college nursing school. I'm protesting to stand up for Trump declaring nurses are not professional. Thank you, Mary. And we'll definitely need to hear your voice when we're talking about Title VIII funding. We'll be able to practice. So everybody is going to practice today. This is not passive. So it's a nice group. We're up to 14 now. I will hand it over to Brianna. She is going to look at that legislative context and then the priorities. I don't know if I'm going to stay muted. Lendra, I'm sorry if I'm going to have to ask again, but I'm going to mute myself. Go ahead, Brianna.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Gloria. Yes. And so going over the legislative context and priorities. We are going to walk through the key priorities, which will be bringing us forward. And the issues we are focusing on are directly tied to what we're seeing in practice. These include strengthening the nursing workforce, protecting funding for education and training, ensuring access to care, and advocating for planetary justice. These are not abstract issues. They show up in staffing, in patient outcomes, and in community health. I want you to think about where you're going, what you are seeing as challenges within your respective places, and what are the moments that stay with you. That reflection is what connects policy to practice. Your role is to bring those experiences into the conversation so decision makers understand what is happening on the ground. And so I will be sharing with you our policy brief, but I did want to go over exactly, the template that we're going to be using in the structure. And so to help structure our message, we're going to be using the SBAR template. SBAR stands for Situation, Background, Assessment, and Recommendation, which is what we use as nurses to give handoff or shift report to the next oncoming nurse. Situation is the issue. Background explains why it matters. Assessment is what you're seeing. Recommendations is the ask, and so that will include our associated bills for our priorities. And so let me share my screen here. Okay, can you guys see this? Yes. Okay, good. Sorry, I couldn't hear anybody. Yes, and so this is our policy brief here. It is 7 pages, but I don't want you guys to get uh, uh, frazzled on on how many pages we do have here. This is just to help guide you in steering the conversation when talking to legislators. We will be working on a one pager so that the priorities and our asks are on one page to leave behind for the staffers. So you guys will be able to print those out. But this is what we have worked on to get all of the information to help you, speak to your representatives in the SBAR format. And like I said, the we have the S for the situation here. And so what's going on as far as like how nurses shift change even got about with HR being implemented into a law now. That is what the situation is, and here are some of the significant ramifications that's happening within our community. The background is here as well, giving you some numbers, and also as far as like budget cuts and things like that to speak on as well. And then we do have the priorities with more information on the federal level. And this is also where you could trickle in your local statistics as well. And so that is the four pillars, priorities in there. And then also as far as like the assessment, what we are seeing clinically. And so you would bring your own personal stories here, but we do have some here as far as like at the federal level that you can use, but also sprinkle in those local statistics. And as far as like the recommendations, we do have our bill numbers here that we will ask for them to co-sponsor if they're not already, and also thank them for sponsoring similar bills that help amplify our priorities, and then we have a description of what the actual legislation is and how it can help strengthen our priorities. So those are our priorities with our policy brief here. So we are asking that you print these out and bring them with you, as far as having some uh, tangible tangible documents, with you, or you can have it, on your phone, however, to save the trees, however you want to do that. But with the one pager that we were going to be working on, we definitely would want you to print that out so you can leave that with your legislators. Does anyone have any questions regarding the policy brief? No. Okay. All right. And so since I still have access to share my screen, I also wanted to go over some of the resources that we do have in our resource folder for Hill Day. And hold on one second. Can you guys see this? Did
Yes.
it change?
Oh, no,
Did it?
no, it's still the situation.
Okay, hold on.
There is a question in the chat.
Okay. Do you want to have AACN state sheets for everybody? They have a bunch of statistics that I think are helpful. I mean, yeah, if it pertains to the topics or priorities that we're advocating for and it aligns, I don't see, why you should have to, reinvent the wheel. I don't think that that would be a bad thing, if everything aligns and the priorities are similar, to use statistics from there. Please resend the policy brief. The one I printed out seems slightly different than the one you just showed. Okay, so I can get that shared as well. It's just the numbers of students that I don't graduate because they don't have preceptors. Molly, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying with that. Sorry, this is my first meeting. Is not allowing us to unmute. Where do we find this information? Okay, so I am just going to share the folder with you guys.
So, Brianna,
Yeah.
how about this? Because let me. Oh, you're sharing already.
Want me to stop share?
Yeah,
Okay.
Let me put this up. If you go to the Nurse Shift Change website, can everybody see this page, the main page?
Yes.
What we have done is there's a blue button on the front. There's the one to RSVP. There's information about the movement itself, and then there's the Hill Visit Toolkit. So there on the front page of Nurse Shift Change, it's only the one S in the website. Understand that you can click here, and now this is what Brianna is referring to, correct? The
Yes,
toolkit.
that's correct.
Okay, so these are the documents. They're all right there if you go on that front page of the website. Okay.
And that is the updated policy brief there.
Right. So this is where you're going to be able to find these. And you will see, I'll click quickly on the policy brief. And you'll find it there. Okay. So that makes it a lot easier that it's on the front page of the website. So you want to see it, it's there. Okay, so which other one were you going to pull up next?
I was going to pull up the first time advocate.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So
Okay, yes. And so this document here is for people who have never advocated or talked to any legislators in their past. And so it just gives a brief, synopsis. I do apologize. My dog is really thirsty at this present moment. Um, on how to prepare. And so like we're doing now, reviewing the information and the talking points. You definitely want to make sure that you have reached out to your legislators. If you haven't already, we do also have a letter request template as well that you can reach out to your legislators. And then just letting you know like how the meetings go. Most of them are 15 to 20 minutes. Majority of the time you're going to be speaking with a staff or a legislative aide, and not necessarily the member, but they are just as important. So making sure that you keep the conversation informal but respectful. And then also the staff does take notes, and they may ask you to follow up on something. So just making sure that you do that, after the visit. It's okay to say if you don't know, you can always, follow up with the answer after the fact. And then this gives you a little example on like how to introduce yourself when you do get into the room with them, saying your name, that you're a nurse. You can say if you are comfortable saying where you work or not, you can put that there, what your specialty is, and then that you're here to talk about our 4 priorities. And so that shouldn't take more than 60 seconds to do a roundabout with you and whoever else you're going to be going to the visit with. And so that is pretty much it as far as like introducing yourself. And then so this is kind of the structure. We spoke about SBAR, but this is similar to that as well. Who you are, what you see, why it matters, and what are the policies or the asks that we're asking the representatives to support. Like I said before, it's okay to not know the answer. You could always follow up with them. Do's and don'ts, those are pretty self-explanatory. I won't read them bullet by bullet, but that's just some extra information there. And then I have mentioned in the past to make sure that you do practice with your folks that you are going to be advocating with, and making sure that you guys have your talking points, and having someone who may want to lead the conversation, especially if you're newer and they have more experience, to kind of, can bounce ideas off of each other that way. And then after the meeting, to make sure that you do thank the staffer. And we do have a template for a thank you letter, also in the resource folder as well. I say within 24 hours. Some folks say within a week, just as long as you follow up with them and thank them for their time and follow up with any concerns that they had that you weren't able to answer during the visit. And then, like Lori was saying, the advocacy doesn't stop at that Hill visit. I always encourage to try to get some visits scheduled in your state and also locally with your representative, just to follow up on the key points, that you did start the conversation on Hill. And then, yeah, that stuff is pretty self-explanatory as well. So just making it a little bit easier to figure out how to maneuver when you get to Hill Day, and what to expect and how to prepare. So that is for the first time advocates. And then can you open up the meeting request template, Sheila, please? Thank you. All right, and so this is an example of what you can send if you've never sent a request letter to your representative. The Senate won't be in session, so we are asking that you schedule visits with your representative. So this is, the framework as what time we're going to be meeting, what the priorities are. And you can just copy and paste and fill in the blanks there, and just submit that to your representative to try to get a visit scheduled. Would folks be able to put in the chat if they've been able to schedule a meeting and with who? That would be helpful. I did send around a advocacy tracker as well. And if you haven't received that, I can definitely share that as well. But yes, that's the meeting request template. And then if you can open up the thank you letter. Sorry, I'm going to pause. I know that was a lot for the first time advocates in the meeting request letters. Does anyone have any questions regarding those two documents?
Not those two documents, but I am answering other questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, for example, Eve said, "I'll be on the red eye the night before. Where are we meeting?" And I'm sure she's mentioning like or maybe she's asking about the actual rally, right? The before you go to your meetings, you're gonna get a calendar, like an agenda of the events for that day, so you'll be able to see the calendar of events for May 7th. Um, for like this specific location. And then let me see, there was another question. So this was Kara. Another nurse that lives close to me has already, I think, arranged to speak to our rep. Can I tag her? Can I tag onto her appointment, or should I send another request for myself? So whenever you're scheduling an appointment, you have to include who's going to be with you, because they won't let, for example, if I show up and Brianna's with me, they're not going to let both of us go in just because we're both together. They're going to say, no, only she has the appointment. And I think that's just the way that they operate. So they don't get bombarded. Like, oh, you only said 3 people and now you're coming in with, 15. So as a courtesy, I would just follow up and just say, I'm adding this one person, please confirm. And we still have time that you can do that. So Kara, does that answer your question? If you have others, you could put it in. Oh no, Eve said, sorry, I'm texting while driving because I can't unmute. I have not signed up, didn't know I needed to. First time hearing this. You did not sign up to speak to your legislator. Is that what you're referring to? Is the meeting location going to be posted on the website for the physical rally? Correct, it will. You'll receive the information. And House of Legislators, or does the rally end there? A lot of expense flying to California to support and would love to have this information ahead of time. Yes, Eve, you will definitely receive that shortly. I do want to remind everyone that this is 100% grassroots effort. So this is we're all volunteers, and that's why things are not turn and key ready that you would maybe receive from other big organizations. But that's exactly what this movement is about. So we welcome your time, your talents, if you have them, any kind of capability that you can give back to the Nurses Shift Change. We appreciate that. So please, thank you for your patience in receiving the real-time information on what's happening on May 7th. We're finalizing the agenda right now. So as soon as we have that, we will get that to you. You'll be, the first to know. And I appreciate you, being transparent with us. Okay. I think I'm gonna be host so I could unmute people. Oh, good. Okay, so now I could unmute. Whoever wants to come off mute can, if you have other questions, or just maybe throw it in the chat like I want to come off mute, and you can. But I wanted to thank Brianna, because that's exactly what we needed to see as far as, the work connecting what we're seeing in practice and then what's happening at that policy level. And I do want to really emphasize this. It's that you already have everything that you need to be effective in these conversations, even if you are new. Eve, I see your hand. I'll unmute you in a second. But as you were listening, right, I hope that you're starting to think about your SBAR, your own story, and your own ask, because that's really, again, what's going to make this real when you walk into those meetings. So I will unmute. Oh, where did you go? Is that Mary? Go ahead.
Eve had her
is
hand
there.
up.
Eve. Okay, there you are, Eve. Unmute.
Hi, yeah, I unmuted.
Hi.
I
Okay.
was just trying to be respectful. Thank you.
No, go ahead.
The trying to text while driving is, well, for many reasons, don't like it, but
Yeah.
thank you for letting me ask the question. So I've participated in plenty of the legislative days, but never like coming in from another state, because I always do it at my state. So
Yeah.
how does it work sending the letter in? Like, am I sending it in California and then telling them I want to meet in DC? Like,
Correct.
how do, okay.
Yes, yes. And really, and the reason that I say yes, because you're doing the work that if you've gone already to, your state capital, I don't know if you went with another organization, but they probably have lobbyists or whoever organized that, if it's like Soapbox, whoever it was, they did all of that, organization for you. They did all like the back office stuff of reaching out, of saying, Eve is going to be coming, and make sure that you have her in your books for from 3 to 3:45, and she's a nurse, right? Like she's your constituent. You're going to have to do that work, which will really give you ownership of just the whole process from start to finish. That we can do it. It is, um, there are steps, but once we know that, we can feel that much more empowered to do that again, time and time again, for ourselves moving forward. We don't have to go with an organization at the state level. We can go ourselves if we need to. But thank you, Eve. Appreciate the question. Um, sorry, I have to be at another meeting. Oh, thanks, Sheila and Gloria and team. Okay, thank you. How many nurses are we expecting to attend? Can someone other than a nurse participate in our legislative visits? That was from Veronica. Someone other than a nurse. Well, if you could maybe come off mute and share, like, is it your significant other being there to support? You would just have to add them to the invite. But what did you mean by that, Veronica?
Um,
Yes.
my son is not a nurse, but he
Oh,
lives in
absolutely.
DC, but he's very much an advocate for healthcare issues.
Yes.
So I didn't know if that would be appropriate if he wanted to attend with me.
Yes, that is appropriate. I mean, his mom is a nurse, and yes, have him come with you. Just make sure that you add him to the letter that you're going to be submitting. And then remind me, Brianna or Sheila, which which side is going to be out? Is that the Senate?
The
Just
Senate will be, yeah, out.
Okay, so just for us to all be aware that they will be out, but maybe their staffers will still be there. You could still meet with the staffers, whoever's, left behind. But if not, it's okay. You could still leave some literature for them as well. If it's only, whoever's at the front office, manning the desk. But I did want to now shift into any logistic questions. We can answer those, but the volunteer updates, I know that we have Therese and Celia running the volunteer. And like I said, this is a grassroots effort. So if you have any interest or desire to also volunteer your time that day, whether it be for check-in, whether it be for handing out water, for example, please throw your name in your email in the chat so that I can connect you if you're not already connected for a volunteer shift. And then we already went over sort of the flow and expectations. Sheila, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Just sharing the screen again. Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
So the rally is ahead of the Hill visits. As you see on those letters, we have the Hill visits were approximately from 2 p.m. till 5 p.m. So anywhere from 1:30 on, because the rally is actually in the morning from approximately the 8 o'clock-ish start time till noon. So one thing to keep in mind from that perspective is that when we look at this map, the rally is going to be set up over here in this section 2 on the left side. Okay. Now, the House buildings are opposite side of the Capitol. So that's a little bit of a walk or an Uber ride or that. So this Cannon building you see here or Longworth, and there is another one here. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, those are the two main ones. And understand once you are in one of those buildings going through security, because you do have to go through security. So just be conscious of what you're bringing with you, that you can go walk through from one to the other. Okay, they do actually have their cafeterias open. Oh, and Rayburn is there too. They do actually have their cafeterias open that you can actually go into. Um, I think it's in the basement of all the buildings, if I remember correctly. Um, and so, when you're on these grounds, you want to be sure you're in comfortable shoes. You want to be sure, you're dressed appropriate going into these meetings. Not in jeans for sure, not in sneakers. If you do wear sneakers, you might wear some that are more maybe black, that you wouldn't really know they're sneakers, because we know that those are available at this point in time. In addition to just your attire, you really can't go in with any kind of expressed logos and all into the buildings where it's visible. So if you are purchasing any of their shift change merchandise, the merch, um, understand that they may stop you at the door if you don't have something else that you potentially have changed into. All right. Um, Out at this on the side where the rally is, this section 2, right? Above that is where the visitor center is. So that's going to be kind of where the bathrooms and things are that we'll be able to access while we're at the rally. And obviously, if you're inside the other buildings, there'll be bathrooms and things there. So just, come prepared for the weather conditions, because we have no idea at this moment in time. So that's the map. So you're just familiar somewhat with the maps. Let me take the map off. And I saw something in the chat, but it kind of popped in and out. We did the screenings, we did that. Just so you are aware, you may or may not have ever known this.
Sheila,
Yes?
I'm answering in the chat. No need
Oh,
to
okay.
worry.
Okay. Just, you may not have ever known this, but there is a Congressional Nursing Caucus, and you're potentially, maybe one of your representatives that you're planning to make your meeting with is in the caucus. So just know that if they are in the caucus, you might see them, and or their staffer, but you might have somebody that's already a supporter of nurses, but maybe they haven't signed on to those bills. And to that point of the bills, it is good to take a look at the bills that are mentioned in our SBARs, because if you take a look and find that your representative already is signed on, still go visit them. It doesn't hurt. Say thank you. Say, we really appreciate that you have been given this full support to the nurses of this country on whatever the topic is, and then there might be some that they didn't sign. So just keeping that in mind. And I'm just pulling this one up because I'm trying to remember what was this one. Is it? I kind of said a little bit about the clothing. Make sure you have ID, because you will need that. Have your phone charged and a portable charger. Be comfortable. Expect to go through that security. That's the most important aspect of knowing. And obviously, being professional and having the etiquette. And the buildings are accessible if that is needed. And there is planned to be, media presence around. You never know, not only for relation to us, but for other organizations and people that may be out there having events. So just giving you this as some insight of what to expect. It's really a good experience if you've never been. You will learn a lot. You'll get to see a lot going on. Even in the hallway, you see somebody, if there's that opportunity, you might say, hello, Senator, in this side, Representative, whoever, and just kind of, sometimes they'll stop and talk if they see you're a nurse or they realize you're a nurse. So just realize that. At one of the rallies, one of the Hill visits I went to at one point in time, not long ago, we left a stethoscope to the representative and asked the representative if they wouldn't mind posting a picture on social media with those stethoscopes from the group. So I'm just saying, you always have some little thing that you're handing over to them, the packet of information of what you are really advocating for, in addition to possibly some little Chotsky thing that maybe they'll have as a remembrance and even think about you. So at this point in time, I guess for now, I'll step back and back to Gloria.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sheila. So, I think at this point we can now practice, and I know that we're streaming right now. I wonder if there's a way that we can stop.